Welcome to the You're Not Crazy podcast, hosted by Jessica Knight, a certified life coach who specializes in healing from narcissistic and emotional abuse. This podcast is intended to help you identify manipulative and abusive behavior, set boundaries with yourself and others, and heal the relationship with yourself so you can learn to love in a healthy way. You can connect with Jessica and find additional resources, content, and coaching at emotionalabusecoach.com.
Hello, and thank you for being here. Before we dive in, I want to go through the fine print and share how we can work together. Because healing from this kind of pain takes a lot more than time. It takes the right kind of support. I work with people entangling themselves from emotionally abusive relationships, coercive control, trauma bonds, high conflict co-parenting dynamics, high conflict divorce, and if you're at the beginning of the road and wondering what divorce would look like. I offer one-on-one coaching at every stage. If you're still in the relationship, if you're unsure if it's abuse, if you know it's abuse but you're having trouble understanding what that looks like, or what to do with it, I can help you name what's happening, start setting boundaries that work for you, and figure out what you need. If you're thinking about leaving, we'll explore what that might look like in a grounded and personalized way. If you're navigating divorce or custody or co-parenting with a high conflict person, I can help you document, strategize, and stay emotionally anchored, especially when you're being gaslit, discredited, and re-traumatized by the legal system. If you've already left and you're stuck in the trauma bond, or if you've been discarded and struggling to feel like yourself again, I can help you rebuild self-trust and reconnect with your own nervous system in a way that actually feels doable. Everything I do is highly personalized. I don't walk you through a one-size-fits-all program. I listen, I reflect, and I guide you based on what you're facing right now. And some people work with me through a one-time validation call, which is offered on my website, where we zero in on one issue you're struggling with and start to untangle it together. Others work with me on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, depending on what's going on in your specific situation. And this is especially helpful when healing from emotional abuse and also in divorce. If you're curious about starting, I offer a $25 intro call, which if you listen to my older episodes, I call it a clarity call. It used to be free, and I talk about it at a later episode, but really a lot of people were no-showing to those calls, and that was taking away time from clients that I do work one-on-one with. And so if we move forward, I just take that fee and apply it to your first session. That intro call is just for us to get on the same page so you can share what's going on for you and I can share how I might be able to help. I only take a limited number of those calls per month because one-on-one coaching is the core of my work. Out of all these offerings that I have, one-on-one coaching is the thing that I do the most, and I do it 6 days a week most of the time, 5 to 6 days a week. And so if my calendar looks full and if there's not a time that you can get in, you can email me at jessicaknightcoaching.com, and I always try and make space where I can. And I may also always have a few openings from one-on-one client reschedules. You can also explore self-paced courses and toolkits at jessicaknight.thinkific.com, including Divorcing a Narcissist 101 and the Emotional Abuse Breakthrough course. I have a documentation course and my new signature program, Unhooked, which is a private podcast and course that walks you through the full cycle of abuse, helps you map it in your relationship and how to break it and how to begin to see what it really is that you're going through. If you want ongoing support in a more flexible way, you could always check out my Substack at jessicaknight.substack.com. Each month I focus on a different theme, from trauma bonding to divorce to cluster B to sexual coercion to emotional abuse to toxic breakups. Those are just some from this year. Paid members get access to monthly deep dives, master classes, Q&As, strategy kits, and I'm working on some more group options. There is also a free option and a monthly option. So please head over to Substack. The link is in my show notes. You also can just search Jessica Knight Coaching and I'll come up. Everything that I create is meant to help. My coaching, my writing, my courses, this podcast, it's built around the one truth that you're not crazy. You are conditioned to doubt your reality, and we want to help you change that and understand what you're going through. If you like this podcast, the best thing that you can do is subscribe and rate the episode 5 stars. You can find me on my websites, emotionalabusecoach.com and high-conflict divorcecoaching.com. All of the offerings that I just mentioned are also in the show notes below. Now let's get to the episode. Hello. I have tried to record this podcast 3 times now, and it is not saved. So, somebody doesn't want me to say what's going on. But I want to talk about something that I learned last month, and it is called doublespeak. And it's a term that is used in coercive control to describe when control hides behind concern. And it's like that moment when your co-parent writes something that sounds reasonable on paper and to the naked eye would sound reasonable, but you feel sick and anxious because you see exactly what they're doing. That's doublespeak. So they'll write things like, I just want what's best for our daughter, as they take a position that goes against what your daughter is asking for and what maybe has been medically advised. They tell the school they're worried about her stress while refusing therapy or any actual support. They'll say things like, I'm trying to keep things calm, but then we'll file, emergency motions or other things in court while they're claiming that it's because of you. Meanwhile, they haven't done anything to actually work on the situation with you. And this term, doublespeak, which again, it's like very wild. I haven't heard this before, but I was reviewing trial documents for a client, something that I do often when clients are trying to prep for court and they're so stuck in the patterns because it's what they've lived for so long. They'll ask me to review it because in my own case, I can get stuck in the details, but when it's somebody else's, I can pull myself away from it. But that term and that word doublespeak came up, and I thought for a moment, that's it. That's the whole thing that so many of us have been trying to name. Because doublespeak is contradictory communication that's self-serving and that hides control behind the concern or reason or moral positioning. And it's what happens when someone says one thing, does another, and somehow you end up defending yourself. And we see this a lot in emails that start with, I just want what's best for the kids, but ends with a threat to file contempt if you don't do the thing that they're asking you to do. And on paper, this looks calm, it looks cooperative, it looks reasonable. And to the court, it reads as reasonable, but to the person living it, it feels like psychological quicksand, and every word pulls you deeper into more confusion. And so doublespeak isn't a communication breakdown. It's like literally just another way that they control it through all these contradictions. And so there's so many examples I can give, but I want to show one of like what this looks like in real life. We can call the parents Erin and Taylor. Erin will send like a short, polite email and it will say something like, please return the following items for the weekend. It's been almost 2 weeks since you said you dropped them off. I need the blue jacket. I need the ballet shoes. I need the ballet tights and the lunchbox insert. And it's straightforward. It's factual. It's respectful. It's the brief, informative email that we typically want to see. And then what happens is what you get back is something like this. I think the cardigan and the jacket you mentioned are ones I purchased, but please confirm. So now already you have to like double down and like look for the receipt or confirm that it's you. It's like it already is making it into something when if you notice in that first email, she says, it's been 2 weeks since you said you dropped them off. So they already agreed, but now we're backtracking. I'm going to go back to the email. I'm just going to start from the beginning because I realize I will be confusing you if I keep pausing. Hey, Erin, following up. I think the cardigan and the jacket you mentioned are the ones I purchased. Please confirm. I'll look for the shoes, but they might already be in the storage bin. To be honest, I don't agree with chasing down things that belong to our daughter. They're not yours or mine. She's wearing them and loves them, and I don't think it's fair to limit her choices. If you see it differently, please tell me what your position is. At the end of the day, she has the right to decide for herself. Okay, so it can sound calm, it can sound reasonable, it can even sound caring. But the context here is that this child is 3 years old. That is a key point. The child is 3. And if this was a teenager that was like having items go back and forth, maybe that's a different response. It doesn't change the fact that like the messaging and the communication pattern is the same, but it reframes the noncompliance as like a moral high ground, and it turns accountability into this moral superiority. And it paints Erin, the parent who's simply trying to get her child's belongings, as controlling or inflexible. And this was actually all around picture day. So the reason she was asking for those items is because she wanted her daughter to wear them on picture day. And she happened to be wearing them like months ago when dad picked her up from school. Erin then reaches out to me and is like, what do I do with this? And I say, I would just go back to the facts. Please return the items listed by Friday as we previously agreed. And then Taylor then files back again and is like, well, I respectfully disagree. And I hope that your communication can be more compassionate moving forward. And it goes on to this tirade on how she's not being nice. That is the full cycle of doublespeak. It is the deflection becomes moral high ground. And now the manipulator appears calm and patient and focused on the child. The person setting a boundary appears as the problem. And my client's probably screaming into a pillow thinking like, our child is 3 years old. I just need the fucking sweater back. That's all. Like, I just need the fucking sweater. Now, would it be easier to go buy another sweater? Yes. But if you take this and you put this into every other single experience that they go through, if you take this and because it's not just one instance, it's like, it's this, it's extracurriculars, it's this and it's school, it's this and it's medical appointment, it's this and it's events that, or birthday parties your child wants to go to, then all of a sudden it's not about what the child wants anymore. It's only about you limiting their parenting time. And that's what happens. And if you've been in Erin's shoes, you know what happens next because you're in a trauma response now, right? Your heart is racing and you're feeling nervous and you're going back and looking to see who actually bought it and you're drafting responses and you're reaching out to somebody like me or someone that supports you asking like, what the hell is going on here? And sometimes you start softening your reply because you learn that being factual gets you labeled as being cold. And it makes you doubt yourself and it trains you to communicate in self-defense. And if you live this, you know the feeling before you even finish reading the message, your heart spikes. And you do try and make sense of it, like all of the time. And doublespeak isn't confined to one isolated topic, but it becomes the default mode of control over a lot of areas in co-parenting. And each time the same pattern repeats. Like I said before, it's like then the language is meant to sound cooperative, but it's not. And it comes into every time that you try and take care of your child, it becomes an accusation of things that you're doing wrong or how you're not child focused. And so as you can see, like this pattern, it really just, it brings you out of out of reality because now you're trying to insert logic into this. And so I was thinking about how to spot it because I think that's a helpful thing to look at. And the way that I came up with it was like, do their words and actions match? Do their concerns always require you to justify yourself? Do they contradict themselves but never seem confused by it? Like, are they always contradicting themselves but they don't seem to care? And if most of those are yes, then you're not misreading things. You're recognizing that's manipulation. And you don't have to fix it in the moment. You don't have to over-explain or soften. Clarity is not their goal. It's to get you to be compliant. And so you can document these contradictions, sometimes keeping them both side by side, what was said and what was done. And sometimes, I know a lot of our documentation is in emails and documents now, but there is a value sometimes to printing them out and just keeping them in a folder. And it doesn't have to be around every topic. But like I say, it's like this always comes up with, say, extracurriculars. It may be useful for you, even in just on gaslighting yourself, to sort of keep it together. So that way you can look at it and be able to even show some of those examples to an attorney. I would anchor in the facts, not the feelings, because when you show the pattern clearly, they can't argue with the paper trail, especially when it continues to happen, and stay neutral. The louder their contradictions come, the calmer that you stay. Because over time, once double speak is visible, it loses in visibility in the court system and it becomes evidence of the pattern. And I know that a lot of courts are not implementing many or any rulings on coercive control, but this is evidence of coercive control. And when you're told that you're not communicating well or you're labeled high conflict when you're simply responding to contradiction after contradiction, this might be a bit of a lifeline and also a reminder that like you're not the problem. You're actually the only one seeing the pattern of what's going on. I did write something about this on my Substack. The link is in the show notes. And I do recommend looking at that because I think that the more that we talk about these things, the more that they're heard, the more that people are talking about them and the more that the patterns can't hide anymore. And I really hope that someday there's a way for this to be very overt and unmissable in court. And if you want help documenting these patterns or framing them clearly for court professionals, this is the work that I do every day. This is the thing that keeps me up at night. And so you can always reach out to me at high-conflictdivorcecoaching.com. You can go to my courses, jessicaknight.thinkific.com. And if you know somebody who's navigating this or has a manipulative ex, if you're listening to this for somebody else, please send them this podcast because I think, like I said, the more that we can assign names to something, the more that it begins to come out of the shadow. So thank you so much for listening.